Very excited to welcome to the program, for the first time, the author of White Feminism, From the Suffragettes to Influencers and Who They Leave Behind, Koa Beck. Welcome to the show.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Everyone's seeing the book there. Very glad to have you on. One of my favorite things about doing interviews like this is not only to expose our viewers to new books, different perspectives and things like that, but I'm also looking to learn something. And so your book just came out last week. So tell us a little bit about it, about the response it's getting, but also the path to writing and releasing this.
Sure. So just to give your viewers an insight into my thesis, I basically chart and define the white feminist ideology. So the history of it, how it was created, the foundational elements that were very pertinent to the middle to white upper class suffragettes in this country, and the ways in which their approaches to achieving gender equality play out, now when we talk about like the wage gap or economic security, or even a lot of dynamics that happened in Women's March, for example. In terms of how I came to the book, I've worked in mainstream women's media for about 10 years. So I've been covering gender and identity politics for my entire career. And I guess you could say like effectively retired from leadership positions in media in 2018 to write this book. I was awarded a fellowship at the Harvard Kennedy School to do the foundational research for the book. So I went from running Jezebel, along with, I worked at Vogue before then and Mary Claire, these like super busy newsrooms, to literally turning off my phone and going into a library and pulling like archival magazines.
So look, there's a lot that I want to talk to you about the book, but let's talk about something that you allude to in the sort of the subtitle to the book about being left behind. So what are fundamentally some of the issues with the history that you trace and its current incarnation? Who is being left behind by some of the ways that this white feminism engages with politics today?
Basically everyone. I chart through the book Black women, queer women, Chicanas, Native women, non-binary people, working class people, immigrant people, and obviously a lot of those identities are hybrid and overlap as well. A big premise of white feminism and the way that it operates both structurally, but also just like on a one-to-one level, is that you have to aspire to a certain lifestyle or class or partnership or job to really be seen by this movement and to really be able to engage with it at all. I think it's really pertinent to consider that, for the past, I would say like post lean in, like a lot of the mainstream feminist rhetoric around like achieving equal rights or, getting around gender bias in the workplace has often been anchored very firmly in working all the time and working specifically at like a white collar job, where you have a prominent leadership position and you ascend in this really corporate way. Yet, if you actually look at like the data of a lot of women and non-binary people in this country, they work all the time. And in fact, they work all the time and barely achieve a living wage. They don't have affordable health care. Many of them are food insecure. They don't have access to affordable housing. And so this mantra of like working all the time and companies ultimately being benevolent is deeply exploitative of a lot of women and marginalized genders in this country.
Interesting. So I know that in the book you talk about how it's sort of developed into a brand, that it's been commodified. Is that basically what you mean, or are there other elements to that of it having sort of its own brand identity that's developed over time?
I would say kind of both. I mean, even one thing that was really important in my research that I found actually when I was doing my fellowship is that branding in white feminism has always been a strategy. Even the middle to upper class white suffragettes partnered with consumerism and brands to basically relay the message and importance of women having the right to vote. And this often manifested in things you could buy. Literally one suffrage group named Macy's the headquarters for suffrage. And there were window displays on Fifth Avenue with like votes for women flags. And there was an official like suffrage outfit that, supporters were encouraged to buy. And there is a through line, I think, that I trace in the book between that and a lot of the, smash the patriarchy dust mugs and like feminist AF t-shirts, this idea that you're supposed to buy your politics, and particularly as a feminist.
Interesting. I thought that we might get into goop territory or something like that, but you're right. Like everything has been commodified, including slogans and things like that. So yeah, so what's so funny is that you're analyzing this at this level that takes into account so many intersecting demographic variables. And I think about like on the opposite side, there's like, well, I was gonna say right-wing males, but not just right-wing males. Males who are like, feminism's dumb. It's one thing, it's a specific thing. It's always been the same thing. It always wants the same thing. And obviously that's such an oversimplification. But even like the next step of there's been these different waves of feminism is obviously a simplification of its own. It's like it's a linear process developing over time. Where is it going? Like you're identifying this, and I think that I think even people who aren't, researchers in this area, whether specifically about feminism or about gender issues like you, understand that these are these concerns about intersectionality and that sort of thing. Where is it going in the future? Do you have a path forward? Is there something you'd like to see happen?
I do spend the last third of the book laying out what I think would be a course correction for white feminism. But I do think it's important to remember when you're approaching a question like that many other feminisms and movements for gender rights in this country have achieved a lot and have existed well outside of a white feminist ideology. And these are groups that have thought more collectively, rather than the individual woman succeeding in this very specific framework. There have been all kinds of amazing consumer activism that's been led by women of color, all kinds of initiatives that have been led by queer women and immigrant women in this country. The history of labor rights in this country is really, really rich with women's history specifically. And so I think if you're concerned with the way forward, I think a good place to start is to look at those movements, which I think, again, the way that a lot of mainstream white feminist rhetoric and dialogue exists in this country is that white feminism, unfortunately, is given the default as, the capital F feminism in this country. And I don't think that's true. I think that's a deeply flawed narrative and indicative of white supremacy.
Well, fascinating material. Anyone watching this, if you're interested in learning more, the book is White Feminism: From the Suffragettes to Influencers and Who They Leave Behind. Koa Beck, we really appreciate you joining us on the show today. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time.
For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/thedamagereport. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.